call to order this meeting of the Gary Sanitary District, this regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners for Monday, July 15th, 2019. Before we start the meeting, I'd like to ask if you have a cell phone, if you could put it on vibrate or silent as to not disrupt the meeting while the meeting is in progress. And if you do receive a call during the meeting, we ask that you step into the hallway to take that call. We will start this meeting off the way we do every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next on our agenda is roll call. Ms. Lee.
Commissioner Tramell Rags.
Present.
Commissioner Maurice Mabon.
Present.
Commissioner Olaf Morris.
Present.
Commissioner Charles Jackson.
Present.
Attorney Jewel Harris Jr.
Present.
Executive Director Daniel Vicari.
Present.
Director of Administration Vern White.
Present.
And that's the end of roll call.
Thank you. With 4 commissioners here, we have a quorum to do business. Next on the agenda is certification. I, Tramell Rags, certify that prior to this meeting, an executive session was held, and there was nothing that was discussed during that executive session except the items that are indicated on the executive session notice posted in compliance with Indiana Code 5-14-1.5. There were no final decisions made during that executive session, also in compliance with that same statute. If there's any commissioner that dissents this certification, they may do so now. Hearing none, we'll move along the agenda to minutes. What is the pleasure of the board regarding the minutes?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the executive session and the regular meeting for July 1st, 2019.
We'll second that, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Commissioner Jackson.
Abstain.
Commissioner Morris.
Yes.
Commissioner Mabon.
Yes.
Commissioner Rags.
Yes.
The vote is 3 ayes and 1 abstaining vote.
With 3 ayes and 1 abstention, the minutes have been approved. Next, we will move along the agenda to new business. And for new business, I will turn it over to the Executive Director, Daniel Vicari.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item 2A, I'd like to ask for Vern White to present to you.
Thank you, Director. I will make a motion to approve GSD payroll earnings for period ending June 10, 2019 through June 23, 2019 in the amount of $245,610.34. I recommend approval as stated in the motion.
Thank you. You've heard the overview and recommendation. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Certification.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Morris.
Yes.
Commissioner Mabon.
Yes.
Commissioner Rags.
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2A has been approved.
Item 2B is a motion to approve an award of bid to Inland Water Pollution Control, Inc. for a sanitary sewer cure-in-place pipe, or CIPP, lining at the vicinity of 1744 Georgia Street in a not-to-exceed amount of $61,367.00. This is an area that near 1744 Georgia, there was a sinkhole with a collapsed pipe, but in viewing the camera work in the entire reach from 16th to 19th Avenue, we see that that simply would just be a Band-Aid on the problem, and we really have excessive cracking and infiltration in that entire 3-block area. So what we solicited quotes to do is cured-in-place pipe, which is that pipe lining system that we've been working with quite a bit here. We solicited 12 contractors. We had 2 respond, and Inland Water Pollution Control, Inc. was the lowest responsible bidder. I recommend approval of item 2B.
You've heard the overview and recommendation with regard to 2B. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved, Mr. Chair, for approval.
Second, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Morris.
Yes.
Commissioner Mabon.
Yes.
Commissioner Rags.
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2B has been approved.
Item 2C is a motion to approve an award of bid to LGS Plumbing, Inc. for manhole improvements at the vicinity of 3229 Broadway in a not-to-exceed amount of $39,995.00. This is an area just east of Broadway, just east of a recent capital improvement project we call the drop sewer, or 32nd and Broadway drop sewer. It's a key diversion point, taking flows from South Gary, Hobart, and Maryville, sending them over to our largest pump station, the South Gary Pump Station at 27th and Chase. This project, there's a 15-inch sanitary sewer that services the neighborhood to the east, namely near Massachusetts, Connecticut Street, in that area, and 32nd Avenue. Those manholes are fairly low, adjacent to the Little Calumet levee system, and we do see times, especially this last May, this excessive wet period we had, that those manholes do experience floodwaters from the adjacent levee drainage system that causes high amounts of inflows. So what we're going to do here is raise those manhole structures so that doesn't occur in the future. $39,000 is a drop in the bucket compared to the treatment and the pumping of all that wastewater that we didn't have to in the first place. So I recommend approval of item 2C.
You've heard the overview and recommendation with regard to 2C. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Well, second, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Director, Mr. Director, those adjacent area piping, are they sufficient enough to hold up for a while, or how rigid are they?
How big are they?
How rigid are they now? Are they adjacent? Are they deteriorating?
They're not in terrible shape. It's just the elevation of them being, and this is, if you look at the levee system, just on the south side, there is a ditch there, right, that takes local waters, and then it funnels them through control structures where they have gates where they can open them while you're not under flood conditions, and then make sure they're closed during flood conditions so that the flood water in the levee doesn't get to the neighborhoods. Well, regardless of flood conditions, this last year, the groundwater table has been so high, especially this last May, that we were taking on excessive infiltration in the top, right through the top of the manhole structures, because they're not new, no, right? So they do experience, they have a lot of cracks and leaks. But with this project, what we're going to do is remove the top cone section. So the manholes, basically, they're probably 4 foot in diameter, but then the very top is shaped like a cone. We're going to remove that cone section, raise the manhole structure itself, and then put new cones on. So when we're all said and done here, you'll have a like new manhole structure.
Okay. So they won't be popping up during wet weather?
No, exactly.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Anything else from the board? Hearing nothing, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Maybon?
Yes.
Commissioner Rags?
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2C has been approved.
Item 2D is a motion to approve and award a bid to PVS Chemical Solutions, Inc. for the purchase of sodium bisulfite in an annual not-to-exceed amount of $205,350.00. This is part of our chlorination, dechlorination program required by permit during the recreational season, which we are in, and I would like to ask for our plant superintendent, Rhonda Anderson, to provide the overview.
Good morning. Actually, there should be a correction. It's not an annual amount to exceed. It should be estimated amount of bisulfite, because it could be less or it could be more depending on the amount of water that we treat, depending on how rainy it is. So our chemical agreements are usually for 1 year. We go with the low bidder and we enter into a 1-year agreement. We also have the option to enter into consecutive 2 consecutive and separate 1-year agreements, provided that the vendor and GSD agrees. If the vendor agrees to keep the price the same and we're satisfied with the service and the product, then we will enter into renewal agreements. So our current vendor is Univar, and we first had an agreement with them in 2017. We had a renewal agreement in 2018. And then this year, they said they were unable to keep the price the same. So we publicly bid, and PVS was the low bidder. Univar actually was the high bidder. We have used PVS before for sodium bisulfite. We were satisfied with their service, so we're recommending approval of the awarded bid to PVS. And the unit price is $1.11 per gallon. PVS's bid was $1.19 per gallon, and then there were some in between. So we recommend approval to PVS.
So Chairman, I'd like to amend the motion, if I may, the request for a motion to be for an amount not to exceed $1.11 per gallon at an estimated total cost of $205,350. We're really asking the board, those estimates are based on past performance, right? But every year fluctuates up and down.
Yeah, it was a five-year average usage was what it's based on.
Right. But we really want to lock in that unit cost, I'm sorry.
So what is the current rate?
93 cents per gallon.
So the cost has gone up across the board, but we still did well because the company we are currently with was at $1.19, and we got a little bit of $1.11.
Recognizing the amendment to the recommendation, does the board wish to amend its motion?
Mr. Chair.
I don't think anyone made one yet.
You want to make a motion? I made a motion.
We only did the overview.
Oh, that was just the overview?
And I made a
Okay, I jumped ahead.
I
I was
made a
wondering why I didn't have
recommendation to
a
amend
movement
my
written down here. I was like, wait, that motion, okay.
Do you want me to reread the motion then to wait and then?
No. In light of the recommendation, as it is currently, what is the pleasure of the board?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Maybon,
Yes.
Commissioner Raggs.
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2D has been approved.
Item 2E is a motion to approve and award a bid to Thieneman Construction, Inc. for the aeration systems improvements project, GSD project number SD 18-07, in a not-to-exceed amount of $7,819,500.00. This is a project we've been working on for some time with the planning, the proper capital investment savings, the engineering and so forth. You can see this is a project we started the engineering on last year, but again, a lot of planning to get to this point. The backbone of our entire plant and the way we treat wastewater here is in the process that involves this aeration system. We have blowers that provide air to feed the bacteria that treat the water here that were installed in the early 70s. The technology has much improved since 1970. The way that we're treating water here that has been improved, the process that we use here, and we now are at a point where we want to match state-of-the-art blowers and the aeration delivery system to meet our current demands here at the plant. I would like, though, to ask if it's okay, Commissioners, for Anthony Giovannini to come up and give you the overview of what's included with this project and what sort of net results we anticipate yielding.
Good morning, Commissioners. Anthony Giovannini, CDM Smith. You should all have in your board packet actually a comparison of the bids, and I'd like to go over that first, if that's okay, and then we'll get into the project a little bit.
Fine.
So there's a memo dated July 12th, GSD Aeration System Improvements Comparison of Bids. So in this comparison, I gave you a few things. So you've got the lump sum price, you've got some of the unit pricing that was included in the bids, some alternatives which were not included as part of the evaluation per se, but something that we could consider when we move forward. And then some of the other key features associated with the bid. So So the other thing that I want to point out, and I think is important, is that there was I guess a budget, you could call it, developed for this project. We did not do an engineering estimate at 100%, but we did what's called an OPCC, opinion of probable construction cost, at 90%. I've included that as an attachment to the memo. So hopefully that also made it into your packet there. Great. So that budgetary cost that we developed, again, not at 100%, but at 90% design, is in line with the bids that were received. So that's important to see, and actually it's a bit under our estimate. We tend to be pretty conservative with those estimates. So as executive director, sorry, what's that?
Did you give that price?
We did not provide a price.
See it here though, but I guess for the public to know.
Say that one more time?
For the public to know, could you give a price of what your approximately cost was?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So at 90%, we did our OPCC. That OPCC was $10,143,000. So higher than the bids that were received. We do include a 10% contingency, which adds to the conservatism of our estimate, which is pretty standard engineering practice. And again, that was done at 90% design.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
So as Executive Director Vicari said, this project, the heart of this project is replacement of the blowers, as well as replacement of the automation system that the blowers, that control the blowers, as well as the air valves out on the aeration system. If you kind of take a look at this project and you're just looking at the blowers and just looking at the automation system and the costs associated with that, not the total cost of the project, the return on that investment specifically is less than 5 years. So what we also did when we were looking at this project was are there other areas related to permit compliance, related to replacement of existing equipment that's, that could be further automated, that needs replacement, electrical systems, instrumentation and controls that need to be replaced and should be done in conjunction with this project. So for example, the reaeration process after the chlorine contact tanks, that is something that's being replaced as part of this project and is a compliance item and something that needs to be replaced. There's also a lot of electrical feeds and things like that that are being replaced that are just beyond their useful life. So with that, if there's any questions about the bid or the project, I'm happy to answer them.
So that is the general overview. I guess I will make a recommendation for approval, and if there's any other questions after.
You've heard the overview, as well as the recommendation with regard to 2E. What is the pleasure of the board?
So move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Second, Mr. Chair.
It's been approved. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Maybon?
Yes.
Commissioner Rags?
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2E has been approved.
Thank you, Commissioners. That's all for new business today.
Thank you. Moving along our agenda, next we come to claims, and for claims, I'll turn it over to the Director of Administration, Vern White.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 3A, GSD claims numbers 2,662 through 2,831 in the amount of $1,643,674.84. I recommend approval and ratification of today's GSD claims.
You heard the overview and recommendation with regard to 3A. What is the pleasure of the board?
So move, Mr. Chair. Acceptance. Second.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Maybon?
Yes.
Commissioner Rags?
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, the claims have been approved and ratified.
That completes today's GSD claims items.
Thank you. Moving along our agenda, next we come to information updates. And our first information update will be from our plant superintendent, Ms. Rhonda Anderson.
Twice a year, a semi-annual superintendent's report to the mayor is submitted and it's due today, and it has been completed, and if it hasn't already, it will be submitted. And it covers the period January 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2019, and talks about our compliance status with our NPDES permit and the consent decree. So what we saw during the first half of this month were multiple extreme weather events. First, we had the minus 20-degree temperatures that caused some maintenance issues, such as frozen auto samplers, heating units that couldn't keep up with the cold in some of our buildings. We had frozen emergency showers, frozen sensors, frozen trash rack gearbox, and all those issues were quickly corrected. Also, during the spring, there was 20% more rainfall than average for January through June, and in May alone, where there was 50% more rainfall than is average for May, we treated 40% more wastewater than normal. We averaged 91.4 million gallons a day for the entire month of May. So that was pretty much the highlight of the report. On Thursday, we're meeting with a vendor to discuss the feasibility of a free plant trial with a dewatering screw press. So this technology is said to be a lot more user-friendly and produces consistently drier cake. And so we're going to, we have a couple of different companies that want to do a free plant trial. They're so confident in their product that they want to do a plant trial. So we're going to meet and talk about if this is something that we can look at. The results of the whole effluent toxicity report is complete, and it indicates that the plant effluent discharge is neither acutely or chronically toxic to either of the test species. And besides some routine maintenance, that's all I have, but I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for the plant superintendent? Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Our next information update will come with regard to construction activities from Mr. Eric Tong.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here to provide a quick update on current construction projects underway. The first one is stripping of the paint on the interior of the filter building. That project's moving along nicely. With the paint gone and the two stairwells I inspected, it's looking really nice. I was kind of surprised how good it looks. They also completed the upstairs gallery. So currently they're in the motor control center and the air intake. The motors and the controllers are being protected from the dust with a fabric around the air intakes. So they should be completed with this project next couple weeks. The gas sphere painting project is being wrapped up today. They're removing the sandblastings today. I believe it's already all gone. So the remaining item is going to be our responsibility is when they remove that bottom hatch, the gasket, it was in really poor shape. So we have to get that replaced before we can put the gas sphere back in service. The 29th Avenue and Jerry Street drainage improvements project. The storm sewers are installed. The paving is completed. We just have to do a final walkthrough, make sure all the punch list items are completed before we can close out that project. The Clark Road drainage improvements project. There's some concrete medians that have to get resolved. Also some guardrails I believe still need to get installed. Then plan work for that is just a site cleanup and a final walkthrough. 4th Avenue and Bigger Street project, that project is complete. We just have to do a final walkthrough to make sure all the punch list items are completed before we can close out that project. The Ambridge Neighborhood Sewer Lining Project, all the point repairs have been completed associated with this project. Sewer lining is next up, and the company doing the lining They have put the order in for the materials, but there's a lead time of about a month before they can start doing that work. But the project is still on schedule. The Lake Street Road reconstruction project, that project is just getting underway. They're currently working in the alleys, stoning the alleys in order for the pavement to get installed. This will help with the traffic while the road is under construction. Hopefully they'll be paving the alleys real soon. I did an inspection on Friday and the stones are already in place. The last project is the paving of the roads here at the treatment plant. We just did the pre-construction meeting. There's a submittal process we have to go through before construction starts, but they are looking to mobilize on the site soon. And that's all I have.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Tong?
I just like to say that I did have a chance to tour some of those areas that you just covered, which was Clark Road. And I see that they'll remove that concrete barrier that was mentioned last time in the board meeting.
Right, there's going to be discussion of how that should get replaced, if it should get replaced, where it should get replaced.
It's replaced.
Oh, okay, I saw it was removed.
It's removed.
Okay, and the
only thing I gotta say is that we need some type of signage entering from the east and west side of Fifth Avenue, stating that no trucks to be allowed down that particular street. You have a wait sign there at the beginning of going into it from Fifth Avenue saying 45 ton?
I think it was 13,500.
Whatever tonnage there is for trucks. But approaching that particular area, there's no signage.
Right, that's part of the discussions we're having about how we're going to address the issue since the concrete barrier's gone out.
But that street really looks nice. It really looks nice. You have enough parking areas up and down that particular area. And look, if you get a chance, just drive through it. It's just a clean, tight situation. So let Robinson know that they can do good work.
Right. There is one more issue on that. We're waiting for, I believe, NIPSCO to come out to readjust one of their covers for their valves, so the sidewalk can get completed. But
it really looks good.
Yes, it does.
I got to compliment them on that particular area. What other one there is? Bigger Street here. It looked good. It just needs street cleaning. That's all. Those containers covers are getting kind of
Yeah, there needs to be
trashy.
Cleaned?
Clean, just clean, that's all. But it does look nice. Lake Street, you're torn up everything now. Golly, the alleys are torn up and everything else, but it looks good too. Progress, yeah. It really looks nice.
You got to break some eggs to make an
So
omelet.
I'll be looking, I'm checking on you guys. So I guess you're earning your pay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Anything else, Mr. Tong?
No,
Thank you.
Thank you.
that's enough.
Our next information update will be from our compliance department, Ms. Tammy Davis.
Good morning.
Morning.
How is everyone doing today? Fantastic. Well, you all have a copy of my report before you. So in general, just want to highlight that we continue to analyze the certified payrolls and notifying contractors of their non-compliance. And as a result of some of the analysis that we have taken with the payrolls, we conducted a certified payroll training last week. It was specifically geared towards the Lake Street project, but we know that we need to have one that is encompassing of all of the contractors working with us due to a number of errors, whether it's incomplete or incorrect information that is being included on the certified payrolls. So we want to make sure that we are doing our due diligence in informing contractors just on how to complete basic information that is required in the industry. We think it went well in terms of the questions that were asked by the individuals that actually complete the certified payrolls for the contractors, and I definitely want to make sure that I thank American Structure Point for organizing and bringing them together. We did it also in partnership with the RDA to ensure that we're all on the same page. The RDA has their own M&WBE requirements, but outside of that, the RDA is tracking utilization workforce as well. So several years ago, the RDA signed a memorandum of understanding that they would track by zip codes the workers that are on RDA-funded projects. So just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page and understanding that as we are working on these mixed finance projects, that is not only Gary Sanitary District requirements that contractors have to adhere to, but also our financing partners as well. So I think that went really well. And I don't always thank American Structure Point in public, so thank you all for a job well done in organizing that. Moving forward, some of the outreach initiatives that we participated in. I was a panelist for the State of Indiana's Northwest Indiana Business Diversity Conference that was held in Hobart, and was able to connect with several businesses that were looking to do business in Gary, and identified a couple companies located in Gary that we can possibly refer to other procurement opportunities with the district as well as throughout the city. In attending the American Association for Access, Equity, and Diversity Conference, had an opportunity to spend about a half hour with the National Director for the Office of Federal Contract and Compliance Programs. That is an arm of the Department of Labor, and they're the ones that actually enforce workforce utilization in the construction trades on federally funded projects. So me being true to Tammy, I had an opportunity to share with them some of our challenges with A, them not enforcing their own goals, and then two, some of the challenges that we face from a locality perspective of just having the lack of presence of minorities and females in the construction trades, period, to meet a lot of our workforce goals. They did inform me that they are coming out with a new technical assistance guide, so we in the industry have been awaiting that for about 10 years. So we're really looking forward to those updates. Let's see. I had an opportunity to be a workshop presenter for the Great Lakes Green Infrastructure Champions Workshop that Brenda held a couple weeks ago. I spoke on the topic of equity and inclusion on green infrastructure projects. So that was a great opportunity to partner with another colleague to further emphasize our commitment to diversity across the board with the city as well as Gary Stormwater Management District. And then lastly, in general, I received a couple calls from our contractors that are working under our agreement with HomeServe. So I had an opportunity to speak with 3 of the leadership representatives to ensure that our local, meaning Gary sewer companies, are continuing to be called and utilized on those warranty calls once our residents call in for that. And I think that's about it. If there are any questions or comments, I'm happy to entertain them at this time.
Any questions for Ms. Davis?
Well, Ms. Davis, I noticed Friday, St. Timothy had a work job fair program going, and they had a lot of vendors out there, so I hope that someone out there got a job. But they were hiring on the spot, various jobs, contractors, and et cetera. So,
well, we did not participate in that.
It was a successful turnout, though.
We did not participate in that. We did support the City of Gary's job fair, however, to ensure that those companies that are receiving tax abatements were aware of our support to ensure that not only Gary residents, but Gary businesses are included. So to the degree that I was able to refer businesses to participate, we did. But we definitely try to be supportive, but at St. Timothy's Community Church, we did not attend that one.
They thank you. From me to them, to you.
All right, well then, I accept that.
And back to us.
I accept that. Thank you very much.
Nothing further. Thank you, Ms. Steele.
All right, you all have a good week.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is discussion. That's discussion amongst the board. Is there any topic at this time a board member wishes to discuss? Hearing nothing from the board. Next, we come to request to speak. Ms. Lee, are there any requests to speak?
No, sir.
With no request to speak, the next thing on our agenda is adjournment. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
We are adjourned. I call to order this meeting of the Gary Stormwater Management District, this regular meeting of the Board of Directors for Monday, July 15th, 2019. First on our agenda is roll call. Ms. Lee.
Director Tremel Rags.
Present.
Director Maurice Mabon.
Present.
Director Ola Morris.
Present.
Director Charles Jackson.
Present?
Attorney Jewel Harris Jr.
Present.
Executive Director Daniel Vicari.
Present.
Director of Administration Vern White.
Present.
And that's the end of roll call.
Thank you. With 4 directors here, we do have a quorum to do business. Next on the agenda is certification. I, Tremel Rags, certify that prior to this meeting, an executive session was held, and there was nothing that was discussed during that executive session except the topics that were indicated on the executive session notice posted in compliance with Indiana Code 5-14-1.5. There were also no final decisions made during that executive session, also in compliance with that same statute. If there is any director that dissents to this certification, they may do so now. Hearing none, next on our agenda are the minutes. What is the board's pleasure regarding the minutes?
Mr. Chair, the board make a motion that we accept the minutes of the executive session and regular meeting for July 1st, 2019.
Second, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Director Jackson.
Abstain?
Director Morris.
Yes.
Director Mabon.
Yes.
Director Rags.
Yes.
3 ayes, 1 abstaining vote.
With 3 ayes and 1 abstention, the minutes have been approved. Next, we're on our agenda. We have new business, and I will turn it over to the director, the executive director, Daniel Vicari.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to ask for Vern White to present to you item 2A.
Thank you, Director. Item 2A, a motion to approve GSWMD's payroll earnings for period ending June 10, 2019 through June 23, 2019, in the amount of $12,617.23. I recommend approval as stated.
You've heard the overview and recommendation with regard to 2A. What is the pleasure of the board?
So move for approval as stated.
Second, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Director Jackson.
Yes.
Director Morris.
Yes.
Director Mabon.
Yes.
Director Rags.
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2A has been approved.
Item 2B is a motion to approve and award a bid to LGS Plumbing, Inc. for the stormwater flood remediation project at the vicinity of 45th Avenue and Madison Street in a not-to-exceed amount of $53,210.00. 45th Avenue has been challenging. There is no storm sewer system that's connected to our comprehensive combined system or separate storm system. In the past, there have been some manholes that have been placed, especially near the former Lewall School at 45th and Madison, that have not performed up to standards. We began a new project, or program, I should say, in the vicinity of 45th and Broadway. And in a nutshell, we're putting in sections of perforated pipe that are much more substantial than what was attempted before. I think there are some manhole structures there that they were using perforated pipe, but just 6-inch, flexible pipe, maybe only 10 feet in either direction. Our program is a lot more robust. We're using 24-inch steel perforated pipe and hundreds of feet of it, and we've seen it perform very well at infiltrating the stormwater back into the ground in the vicinity of 45th and Broadway. So we'd like to continue to march westward along 45th Avenue, and we're calling it a remediation project because there was a system there, not quite operating up to snuff, and we feel this system will. So we're looking for the board to approve this contract with LGS in an amount not to exceed $53,210. We did receive, I'm sorry, I had that right in front of me. We solicited 12 contractors. We did have 3 respond. The bids were as high as $146,700. So we're looking, again, we highly recommend this project be approved.
You've heard the overview and recommendation with regard to 2B. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a suggestion. Of those bids, which was good, but there was no piping area in that area, no piping in that area for drainage,
None.
none at all,
We're adding it here.
other than what we're doing.
Yeah, people call those different things. They're basically a dry pit. So it's a manhole that is bottomless. It just sits right into the earth.
I know what they
From
are.
what I understand, you're familiar with them.
Yes, sir.
There's a lot of areas that they've used these. So we're, again, going through, and it's the same type of thing we're trying to do. We're just making it much bigger and much more robust, and we feel confident it'll work.
Yeah, my question is that there's no other piping that will connect to
None.
a drainage.
There's separate sanitary sewers there, but as you know, we do not allow the smaller separate sanitary sewers to accept stormwater. And the nearest stormwater system is on Grant Street. So this is what we're looking at being the ultimate solution, just doing it one step at a time as we go west of Broadway toward Grant.
Okay, because before, what size piping did we use before in that area? For the same type
Same thing,
of drainage?
45th and Broadway, it's a 24-inch. Yeah, that was even bigger, you're right.
But it's a shorter section.
Shorter section because we didn't have as much area to work with because we were by the state highway.
But now we're going, which way we're going now?
Both directions, west and east.
West and east?
Yeah. Because
Is that across the state highway?
no, because we're at Madison and 45th. It's all local roads.
Any other questions? Or any other discussion regarding 2B?
You got a motion?
You have a motion?
All right. You've heard the overview regarding 2B. What is the pleasure of the board?
So move, Mr. Chair. Acceptance.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Director Jackson?
Yes.
Director Morris?
Yes.
Director Maybon?
Yes.
Director Rapp?
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2B has been approved.
That is all for new business today, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Sorry, Directors.
Thank you. Moving along our agenda, next we come to claims, and for claims, I'll turn it over to the Director of Administration, Vern White.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 3A, GSW claims numbers 297 through 326 in the amount of $129,131.72. I recommend approval and ratification of today's stormwater claims.
You've heard the overview and recommendation with regard to 3A. What is the pleasure of the board?
So move for approval and ratification, Mr. Chair.
Well, second, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Director Jackson?
Yes.
Director Morris?
Yes.
Director Maybon?
Yes.
Director Rapp?
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 3A has been approved and ratified.
That completes today's stormwater items.
Thank you. Moving on along our agenda, next we come to information updates. And our first information update will be from American Structure Point from Mr. John Tucker.
Good afternoon, Board. John Tucker, Structure Point. A few construction updates. We do have a few projects that are now complete. As Eric mentioned, Fourth and Bigger, we are completing that job. I do have the final change order that will be presented to the Board here shortly. It is a deduct. We did underrun that contract, so when I have the final numbers, I'll have that hopefully next Board meeting. Jerry Street, contractor finished all the restoration and swales this weekend, actually. So we'll perform a final walkthrough on that project, but all the asphalt work and all the work on that project is complete at this time. Ambridge rehab, as mentioned earlier, sewer lining is the next steps that they're waiting for the material. All the restoration work minus one alleyway where they still have a joint repair, I believe from the meeting minutes, remains, but that one's on schedule as well. Lastly, Lake Street has begun. They are working in the alleyways and the side streets. They are addressing a lot or attacking a lot of those at one time, trying to get a big jump, get a short window with everything going on this year and all the work we want to get done. Right now, they are, as of today, the goal is between today and tomorrow, they get all the alleyways with stone in them, so they can at least have some accessibility, but we are working with all the businesses to get the garbage pickup and deliveries, and try to coordinate as much as possible. The overall goal, of course, is to always maintain some sort of entrance, whether it's the front or the back, so we are working, trying to get the alleyways completely done, so that when we are working in the street, there's full accessibility in the alleyways. They're wider than they are now, so that is the goal, to try to stage it as best as possible to get the flow of traffic and accessibility for the businesses out there. That's a quick update on the current projects. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Any questions for Mr. Tucker?
I've covered it already.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Tucker.
Thank you.
Our next information update is going to come from Robinson Engineering, and that's going to come from Dave Schilling.
Thank you, Directors. Eric has already hit on the Clark Road Stormwater Project and the wastewater treatment plant roadway parking area rehab project. I don't have really anything to add on either of those, so I'll move on to the design projects. The Warren Street Sewer Feasibility Study, that's a study to get those residences in Miller off of septic and into the system. We've completed the profile of the existing mains in the area, and we've identified all of the possible obstructions. So we have a scheduled meeting with staff to determine how to go forward with that. The Locust and Forest intersection stormwater project, those plans are 90% complete and have been updated per meetings with staff. So once the district finishes the final review, we can get that out to bid. 20th place from Taft to Ellsworth, those plans are about at 80% completion, and we should have a cost estimate by the end of the week. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Mr. Schilling?
Mr. Chair, you said you were doing an estimated study in Miller, taking individuals off the septic tank, putting them on regular sewer taps.
That is correct.
Will that have to have any lift stations in that area?
I don't believe so, but that would be as part of the feasibility study when we get that far.
I know Miller is kind of up and down, and I was just trying to figure out how is that drainage going to work.
Right, I mean, that would be a big tipping point for the decision whether it's, economically feasible or not to.
So you are working in that type of areas, right?
Correct.
Other than that, I've covered Clark Street, so you can give that report back to.
Sure will. Noted.
Yes, sir. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is discussion. That's discussion amongst members of the board. Is there anything that a board member wishes to discuss at this time? Hearing no discussion, we'll move along to request to speak. Ms. Lee, are there any requests to speak?
No, sir.
With no request to speak, the next thing on our agenda is adjournment. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
We are adjourned.